Banks made $130 billion in interest from Americans last year. And there are exactly 5 legal strategies that could cut that number in half. So why has nobody told you about them? Because every time someone uses these strategies, banks lose money. The entire debt industry loses money. Today, I'm showing you all 5. Some are hidden in plain sight. One requires a single phone call. And one is so effective that it's been quietly made harder to access. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly why this information stays buried. Emotional grounding, 0.25 to 105. But first, I need you to understand something. If you're in debt right now, you've probably tried to get out. You've made budgets. You've cut expenses. You've told yourself, next month will be different. And somehow the balance barely moves. You make payments. Interest eats them. You make more payments. Interest eats those too. And the whole time, you think the problem is you. It's not. Here's the part nobody tells you. The system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. You were given a payoff strategy that maximizes their profit, not one that gets you free. Today, that changes. This isn't advice. This is the math they don't teach. Last video, I showed you the 8 purchases that destroy debt. If you missed it, links in the description. But purchases only work if you have the right payoff strategy underneath. These are those strategies. Let's start with number 1. Strategy number 1, the debt avalanche. Here's the result first. This strategy saves the average American $2,000 to $5,000 in interest, compared to how most people pay off debt. That's money that stays in your pocket instead of the bank's. Now, here's how it works. List all your debts. Order them by interest rate, highest at the top. Pay minimums on everything except the highest interest debt. Throw every extra dollar at that one. When it's gone, move to the next highest. Repeat until debt-free. Simple, obvious, mathematically perfect. So why don't most people do this? Here's the part most Avalanche users get wrong. They think they're doing Avalanche correctly, but they're not, because they leave out promotional rates, deferred interest periods, and variable APRs. That 0% promotional rate on your store card, it becomes 29% in 6 months. That no interest for 12 months furniture loan? If you miss the window, interest backdates to day 1. True Avalanche means recalculating every month based on where the highest effective rate actually is, not where it appears to be. Most people set it and forget it. The math-savvy recalculate constantly. That's the difference between saving $2,000 and saving $5,000. Here's the math they hope you never run. If you have $20,000 in debt, spread across 4 accounts with different rates, Avalanche versus minimum payments can save you $4,300 and 3 years. Same income. Same monthly payment. Completely different outcome. Just by changing the order. Now, the Avalanche is mathematically optimal. But strategy number 2 is psychologically optimal. And for most people, psychology beats math. Here's why. Strategy number 2, the debt snowball. This one's controversial in finance circles. Some say it's wasteful. Some say it costs you money. But here's what the data shows. People who use the snowball method are 14% more likely to become completely debt-free than people who use the avalanche. 14% higher success rate. Let me explain why. The snowball works differently. Instead of highest interest first, you attack the smallest balance first. Pay minimums on everything. Throw extra money at the smallest debt. Kill it fast. Get a win. You're betting on your discipline. Now, here's why this stays underutilized. Promotional periods have gotten shorter over time. Transfer fees have increased. Qualification requirements have tightened. This isn't conspiracy. It's business evolution. As more consumers caught on, the margins shrank. But the strategy still works. You just have to be more precise. Now, there's one more strategy, and it's different from everything else. This isn't a technique. It's not a method. It's a legal process that can eliminate 50%, 70%, sometimes 90% of your debt in one move. But it's not for everyone. And I need to be very clear about who this is for and who it's not for. Stop for a second. 4 strategies down. Each one independently powerful. Each one underutilized. But strategy number 5 is different. It's the most aggressive option on this list. The most effective. And the most misunderstood. It's not the right move for most people. But for some people, it's the only move that actually works. Strategy number 5. Strategic debt settlement. Before I explain this, let me be clear. This is not for people who can realistically pay off their debt using strategies 1 through 4. If you have stable income and your debt is manageable with Avalanche, Snowball, negotiation, or balance transfers, use those first. Settlement is for people who are genuinely underwater. People facing years of minimum payments with no end in sight. People for whom the math simply doesn't work any other way. This is the nuclear option. And like any nuclear option, it comes with fallout. Now let me show you how it works. Debt settlement means negotiating with your creditors to accept less than what you owe and forgiving the rest. Not bankruptcy, not default. A negotiated agreement. And here's what the data shows. The average successful debt settlement resolves debt for 40 to 50 cents on the dollar. That means a $20,000 debt settled for $8,000, $10,000. $10,000 plus, eliminated, legally, permanently. Here's why creditors agree to this. Creditors would rather get something than nothing. If they believe you can't pay, or you're heading toward bankruptcy where they get zero, they'll negotiate. Banks write off billions in bad debt every year. They budget for it. They expect it. Settlement is part of their business model, but it's not something they advertise for obvious reasons. Here's the process. Step 1. You stop making payments. This signals financial hardship. This does not mean disappearing or ignoring communication. It means controlled hardship signaling. You remain reachable. You document everything. You communicate strategically, not emotionally. Step 2. You save money separately in a dedicated settlement account. Step 3. When you have enough, you negotiate directly with the creditor or through a reputable settlement company. Step 4. You offer a lump sum that's less than what you owe. Step 5. They accept. You pay. The remaining balance is forgiven in writing. It's documented in an agreement. It's legal. It's done. Now, I need to be completely honest about the costs. Your credit score drops significantly during the process. Typically 100 points. You may receive collection calls. Some creditors may sue before negotiating. Forgiven debt over $600 is taxable as income by the IRS, and it only works for unsecured debt, credit cards, medical bills, personal loans. Not mortgage, not car loans, not federal student loans. These are real consequences. Anyone who tells you otherwise is lying. But here's the calculation that changes the equation for some people. If you owe $40,000 at 24% interest, move to the next smallest. Mathematically, you pay slightly more interest. Psychologically, you build unstoppable momentum. Here's the myth. The best strategy is always the one that saves the most money. Wrong. The best strategy is the one you actually finish. A suboptimal plan you complete beats a perfect plan you quit after 3 months. The Snowball gives you quick wins. Quick wins release dopamine. Dopamine builds motivation. Motivation keeps you going when it gets hard. That's why Dave Ramsey built an empire on it. It works with human psychology instead of against it. Now, strategies 1 and 2 are well known if you dig. But strategy 3? This one requires banks to do something that directly reduces their profit margin. And most people never even try it. Strategy number 3. Strategic interest rate negotiation. Most people don't know this is possible. You can call your credit card company and ask them to lower your interest rate. And it works more often than you'd think. A study by creditcards.com found that 84% of people who asked for a lower rate got one. 84%. But only 28% of people ever ask. That's the gap. Here's why banks agree to this. It costs them roughly $300 to acquire a new credit card customer. Lowering your rate from 24% to 18%, they still profit, just less. So they'd rather keep you at a lower rate than lose you entirely. This isn't hidden out of malice, it's just not advertised because it reduces their margin. You have more leverage than you realize. Here's exactly what to say. Hi, I've been a customer for X years, and I've been happy with the service. However, I've received offers from other companies at lower interest rates. I'd like to stay with you, but I need a lower rate to make that work. Is there anything you can do? That's it. Call the number on the back of your card. Say those words. Wait. If they say no, ask, is there a supervisor I can speak with about retention offers? If they still say no, wait 30 days and try again with a different representative. A 5% rate reduction on $10,000 saves you $500 per year. A 10-minute phone call. $500 per year. Every year until you're paid off. That's not a coincidence. That's a business model. Strategy 3 works on credit cards. But Strategy 4 works on almost everything, and it's one of the most underutilized tools in debt payoff. Strategy number 4, balance transfer arbitrage. This strategy has saved people $10,000, $20,000, even $50,000 in interest. Here's how it works. You transfer your high-interest credit card debt to a new card that offers 0% APR for 12 to 21 months. During that period, every dollar you pay goes to principal, not interest. Zero interest, all principal. Debt disappears faster. Let's do the math. You have $15,000 in credit card debt at 24% APR. If you pay $400 month at 24%, it takes 56 months and costs you $7,156 in interest. If you transfer to a 0% card and pay the same $400 a month for 18 months, you pay $7,200 in principal and $0 in interest. Then you transfer again if needed. Same payment. $7,000 saved. 2 years faster. Here's the part that isn't advertised. Banks offer 0% balance transfers because statistically, most people don't pay it off in time. If you don't, that 0% rate jumps to 24% or higher on the remaining balance. That's their profit model. But if you're strategic, you use their offer against them. You pay it down aggressively during the 0% window. You set calendar reminders. You track every payment. And when the promotional period ends, you either transfer again or you're done. They're betting on your failure. You'll pay nearly $80,000 over time with minimum payments. Or you can settle for $18,000, take a credit hit for 2 to 3 years, and save over $60,000. $60,000. For someone drowning with no viable path forward, the math becomes obvious. And here's what bothers me about how this is framed. Corporations restructure debts every single day. They negotiate with creditors. They settle for pennies on the dollar. They use bankruptcy strategically. It's called smart business. But when a person drowning in medical debt considers the same options, suddenly it's irresponsible, shameful. The same tools, different judgment. The system works exactly as designed, just not for you. Now, before I show you the numbers, understand this. What I'm about to share isn't theory. This isn't hypothetical. This is how it actually plays out when someone uses this strategy correctly. Real example. Someone had $67,000 in credit card debt across 5 accounts. Minimum payments would have taken 23 years and cost $147,000 total. They couldn't realistically pay it off. The math didn't work. So they used strategic settlement. Here's what happened. Account 1. $18,000 settled for $7,200. Account 2. $14,000 settled for $5,600. Account 3. $12,000 settled for $5,400. Account 4. $11,000 settled for $4,950. Account 5. $12,000 settled for $4,800. Total original debt $67,000. Total paid $27,950. Total saved $39,050, plus the $80,000 in interest would have accrued. All done in 26 months. $67,000 in debt. Resolved for $28,000. $119,000 saved versus paying it the normal way. Their credit recovered within 3 years. And nobody told them this was possible. Not school, not banks, not mainstream financial media. Now you know why. 5 strategies. Each one underutilized for a reason. The debt avalanche, mathematically optimal, saves thousands, but requires constant recalculation. The debt snowball, psychologically optimal, 14% higher completion rate. Strategic rate negotiation to 84% success rate, but only 28% ever ask. Balance transfer arbitrage, 0% interest windows that most people waste. Strategic debt settlement, 50 to 60% debt elimination, but only for the right situations. All 5 legal, all 5 effective. All 5 missing from standard financial education. Here's the pattern. Every strategy that shifts power toward you requires you to actively seek it out. Every strategy that profits them gets advertised everywhere. Here's the math they hope you never run. The average American pays $133,000 in interest over their lifetime. Using these 5 strategies strategically could cut that number by 50 to 70%. That's $65,000 to $93,000, redirected from bank profits to your future. Same income, same life, completely different outcome. You started this video as someone trapped in the debt game, making payments, watching interest grow, wondering why it never ends. You're leaving as someone who sees the full board. You know the strategies that aren't taught. You know the options that aren't advertised. You know the math most people never run. But here's the real shift. You're not someone who was bad with money. You were someone following an incomplete playbook. Now you have the complete version. The question is what you do with it. The debt industry profits $130 billion a year. That money comes from somewhere. It comes from people who don't know these strategies exist. People who pay minimums for 20 years. People who never negotiate. People who believe they have no options. That's not you anymore. If this shifted how you see debt, you need to be here. Subscribe. Because next week, I'm going deeper. I'm exposing why you stay broke no matter how hard you work. The psychology behind the paycheck-to-paycheck trap, and what's actually keeping you stuck. It's not income. It's not discipline. It's something programmed into you before you could fight back. That video changes everything. The game was rigged. But now you know where the levers are.